It's like the classics, every word seems to have so much more meaning.
Oh, their take on the English language makes me feel like I am illiterate.
Today's guest on the podcast is Bob Harper. I love Bob Harper, you guys. So we had a great time. Bob, as many of you know from the hit show, The Biggest Loser, but he's also an author, a celebrity, a trainer, and an advocate for heart health after his 2017 heart attack that really surprised us as his fans and the public, but also Bob himself. So we talk about that. And all sorts of other things like meditation, of course, because this podcast is just one giant exercise in convincing us to all meditate. But I think Bob might have convinced me. I say that a lot. But we had a great time. And Bob is just as kind and gentle and inspiring as you would imagine. And as you have seen on his show. So sit back, enjoy this episode. Maybe not sit back because you're probably running, if I know my audience. So enjoy your run and listen to this amazing episode with Bob Harper.
Welcome to the Same 24 Hours podcast with Meredith Atwood. We all have the same 24 hours each day, and it's what we do with those hours that makes all the difference between our health, happiness, and success.
Super. Thank you, Bob. I'm so excited.
Well, thanks. I'm excited to talk to you too. I'm glad this finally worked out.
Yeah. So did you have fun on your snow day?
I did. It's like that snow day just came out of nowhere and just took the city down.
I know. I loved your response. You're like, canceling because snow. And I was like, I don't blame you. I would do the same thing. I was at the CrossFit Games with my 9-year-old daughter this year.
Oh, wow.
And I just saw that you were also there, and I can't believe that we didn't get to, see you and listen to that. But oh my gosh, do you just love the CrossFit Games?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone for many years. It was my first time being in Madison, Wisconsin. And I mean, to see those athletes and what they're capable of doing just floors me. Like, does your daughter at 9 years old really comprehend
Yes.
the gravity of that?
I started doing CrossFit about a year ago.
Oh.
And I took her to like a cookout at our box where they were showing the Redeemed and the Dominant on the big wall. And that child sat down and did not move for the extent of that movie. And when we left, she goes, I'm going to do that. I am going to do that.
That's so cool.
And she started her own Instagram and she does workouts for kids. I mean, she's all in. And so
I have to say, because I know Greg Glassman, I know Dave Castro, and when they put together CrossFit for Kids years ago, I was so impressed with it. And when you see the young people that are really getting involved with CrossFit, I just see so much benefit to that because I feel like there is such a crisis with our kids these days and their sedentary lifestyles with all the video games and the weight problems and the fast food. And I mean, you name it, it's issues that kids are dealing with. And to show a group of kids that are being so active and having so much fun with their bodies, it's so uplifting for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that really blew me away and my daughter was she just saw these women, with different body types than you would see on TV, but so powerful, so strong. And that just really resonated with her. So to actually go to the games and see those, see everyone in action, it was amazing.
I think it's really cool that your daughter had that experience because I think now more than ever, seeing girls being able to watch women being so empowered, I find that that's something that the world really is in need of. And I'm glad that your daughter really got to see that and was moved by it.
Oh, she's going to apparently get to see it every year because I really don't think I'm going to give up taking her.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what you've been up to for the last couple years. You posted on Instagram I believe back in February that you were doing the 18.1 CrossFit workout, which was almost a year to the day after your near fatal heart attack. So let's rewind a little bit and kind of go back to February of 2017 and kind of where you were and what unraveled.
Yeah, I think that a year after my heart attack, I mean, it's been definitely an eye-opening experience for me. It's been a slow process, kind of getting myself, quote unquote, back on track. I think that it has been a time of exploration. It's been a time of reflection. I feel like I have been really trying to spend so much focus on getting my health back, mind and body. And that's kind of where I've been for a while now.
Yeah. When you say mind, is that stress, emotional, all of the above?
Yeah, I think that the mind was something that was bigger for me than almost the physical because I was in a position where I was really having to learn how to trust my body again and know that I could push it to limits, maybe not the kind of limits that I did before, but just kind of explore that arena of physicality that I got really afraid to do. I mean, I was in a gym and dropped dead of a heart attack, and it was it was definitely a time of uh, uh, what would I say, like a new exploration, a new self exploration.
I guess so. Not the kind that anyone really wants to go on, though.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to go on that,
Oh my gosh.
but I think that, you life kind of throws curveballs at you, and this was mine. And I really, when I say that I had to trust my body again and trust my heart, that was a real thing because I found that all I wanted to do was go back to the way it was. I wanted to just get into the gym and I wanted to work out and just do what I used to do. And then when I found that I would be in a gym and I would try to do that, my heart rate would start to go up as it does and
Mm-hmm.
how you want it to. But I got scared and I did not like that feeling. I was having panic attacks. It just did not feel good for me. And I really started thinking, is like am I not going to be able to do this anymore? I mean, it's like who am I?
Right.
And I really had to, with the help of my healthcare providers, all my doctors and friends and family, just kind of kind of put myself back together again.
Well, and panic attacks, I mean, they can often feel like a heart attack, right? So
Oh,
it was a
God, there.
spiral.
Yeah, I mean that feeling, because one thing that I was experiencing before my heart attack was I was having these dizzy spells, and doing a workout that would make me feel dizzy just really scared me. And I thought, oh my God, am I having another heart attack? And that just like brought on a panic attack. There was one point during my recovery that it was a mission of mine to be able to walk to my cardiac rehab because it was a good walk. In New York, it was I can't remember how many blocks it was, but it was a good 40-minute walk. And I was like thinking, I can't wait to be able to do that. And one time I was in the middle of doing that walk to my cardiac rehab, and I just felt like I was getting dizzy. I just did not feel good. And that brought on a whole panic, like full on panic attack. And luckily I was about a couple of blocks to my rehab, got there. I was in a full on sweat. My doctor saw me and was just hooked me up to the EKG. I was convinced I was having another heart attack, and they really had to talk me off that ledge.
Wow.
So
Well, so did it change the way, like, what was the process from, that point where your heart rate would raise and you would feel panic to kind of where you are now? I know you've done a lot of yoga and
yeah,
meditation. Was that the progress of it, or do you still kind of keep the
oh,
heart rate lower? I mean,
um, sorry. What I do, I'm now in a position where I can really challenge my heart, and I feel good about it. And I don't feel like I'm ever going to try to beat my Fran time, I, yeah, I'm not gonna like that. That's not important to me anymore. I'm not looking to have that feeling of working so hard that I just fall to the ground. Like that's not anything that really interests me anymore, but I still want to be able to challenge myself, and I want to be able to, I still want to be able to do CrossFit. I want to be able to do other workouts that challenge me, but I don't I don't need to press that gas pedal all the way down
Yeah.
like I used to.
Yeah. So what were some of did you have warning signs? I mean, you said you were starting to feel dizzy before the heart attack. Was that days, weeks, more
That was
often?
that was definitely a couple of weeks, and I broke one of my biggest rules that I have always told every client person that I've ever worked with, and that's to really listen to your body. And you hear that phrase so often. You hear listen to your body. And until you really are so super self-aware of your whole body, that mind-body connection, you don't really know what that means. And I really did know what that meant, and I chose to overlook it because I thought, you know what, it's gonna pass. I'll be fine. I'm invincible. There's gonna be no problems here, and it persisted. And finally, on the Friday before my heart attack, because I had it on a Sunday, I I had to leave my CrossFit gym because my dizzy spells were so bad, and I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone, and he was like, you're gonna see my doctor on Monday, and we're gonna take care of this. And then that Sunday is when I had my heart attack.
Do you remember anything that day?
No, I don't remember anything until 2 days later when I woke up in the hospital. I don't remember everything that I would tell people about that day was everything that was told to me. And it was one of those things where I was really trying to piece it together because my friends felt like they were kind of protecting me of what they knew, the ones that were there, because it was in their mind, or what they saw. It was hard to see. It was it
Sure.
was it was their friend, me, laying on the ground and turning blue with the defibrillators on me, and they just felt like they were kind of holding back some information until I became stronger mentally and physically to hear the whole story.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about who saved your life because I love that part of the story.
Yeah, I mean, it really is amazing, because, and I never get bored with this story because it's really powerful. At the day I was in that gym, there was an event going on upstairs, and there was a doctor in the gym who was not a member. He had never been to the place before, and when he was at the event and one of the coaches came up and asked if there was a doctor in the house. Of course, he raised his hand, and they asked him to come downstairs because I was working out downstairs. And he said that he was expecting to see somebody that maybe hit their head or twisted their ankle, or he didn't know what to expect until he walked up and there were people around me, and he was like, I saw Bob Harper laying on the ground and he was already blue. And I thought, holy shit, I gotta do something.
Oh my gosh.
And he went into that real uh, action mode that doctors just innately have in them. He said, I got everybody out of the way and I just started performing CPR. And it was one of those things that, and people need to know how important CPR and having an AED is in, well, everywhere,
Right.
because he just continued to persist and persist. And when he was performing CPR on me and then put the AED, it didn't go off because I had already gone into cardiac arrest, and the CPR initially was not working. So it, if it would have been anybody else, it could have been them just saying, well, there's nothing to be done. But he persisted and persisted and was able to get my heart going again enough for the AED to fire.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't realize how self-explanatory or sufficient that these AEDs are once, when they're necessary. When you hook them up, they tell you what to do.
People get so nervous about them because they think that they're going to hurt someone or they're going to get hurt themselves or whatever the case may be. And it couldn't be farther from that because it's foolproof. I mean, you press a button and this machine starts yelling at you to do what is needed to be done. Like anybody could do it.
So the takeaway, one of the takeaways from this is if you don't see an AED in your gym, petition for one, buy one, get one. Yeah.
Yep. And also people have to realize that don't be afraid of hurting that person that's on the ground. That person is completely helpless. They need you to act. They need you because I was in a position I could not do anything for myself. People think I was afraid, they would be afraid that they would, crack a rib doing CPR. It's like none of that matters. It's like you're going to only help that person because otherwise there's no future for that person. I think the most important to me is kind of just peace, tranquility, happiness, those kind of things. And also just doing my part to motivate other people, to inspire other people in a completely different way. It's something that is very near and dear to me. So I try not to sweat the big things or the small things anymore, and I just try to live the best life I possibly can.
When you say inspire people in a completely different way, what do you mean as opposed to?
I mean, I've always been I've been in the health and fitness industry for a very, very long time, and I've always inspired people when it comes to being the tough guy in the gym to push you beyond your limits and all that. And I still believe all that, but I think that it's so much more now. It's not so much about having that ideal body as much as it is about just feeling good about yourself, being able to know that you're helping yourself, that you're feeling good. And I think that there are so many people out there that are either motivated for superficial reasons or they're not motivated at all. And when you try to get them to approach the situation in a completely different way and look at life a little bit differently, I think it's a challenge, but it can be really rewarding too.
It's a lot harder to probably change your perspective when you haven't gone through something as life-changing and you don't want to go through something as life-changing as you did. So what are some of the things that you're trying to convey?
Well, yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Because I've talked to, I have a friend of mine who I love very dearly. Well, that will go nameless. But they're always, and notice how I'm saying they instead of he or she.
Right.
They're very fit. They're very active. They look amazing, and they're still so hard on themselves. It's like, oh, I need to lose 5 more pounds, or I don't look the way that so and so looks, and it's just like I just want to shake them and just be like, you know what, you're putting too much energy in something that is just so pointless. It's just I see that, and I try to get people to approach that so differently, to think, you know what, life is fleeting. Next thing you know, it's going to be 10 years later, and you're going to look back at the way you used to look and go, damn, I looked good. Why don't
Yes.
why wasn't I happy with that right now? I would kill to have my body look like
Right.
that.
I always say I wish I was as fat as I was in high school because, I thought I was so fat then, but geez.
Yeah, it's like, and I guess the bigger point of that is to really be thankful and have gratitude for where you are right now. If you're doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing, if you're making good choices and you're being active and you're helping somebody in the course of a day, no matter how big or small, then you're doing your part.
So after your heart attack, I mean, did you have a hard time with the nutrition part of your
Uh,
health? I mean, was there still, I mean, you knew so much, but did it change for you at that
oh
point?
my God, it changed so much. I, of course, before my heart attack, I was in the CrossFit world. It was very high fat, high protein, uh, and that's kind of how I lived. And for me, and I say that very specifically, for me, that necessarily wasn't the right way. I necessarily should be eating with my genetics. So
Right,
I've
because your
had
heart attack was a genetic condition.
it was a genetic condition,
Yeah.
and that's what I tell people because people are always like, "What do you think about the why
Keto
am I
diet.
blanking on?
Keto.
Thank you." I
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, what do I think about the keto diet? What do I think about Atkins? What do I think about vegan? All these kind of things." And I tell people, here's what I think. I think that you've got to go to your doctor. I think you need to do blood work. And I think you need to find out what works for you because we are all different. When I get people coming at me like they do, especially, the vegans, man, I love them to death, but man, they sure do have an axe to grind with me. You know,
Uh-huh.
they were just like, I remember I actually had to because I was very upfront about my recovery during my after my heart attack, and I I got to where I had to tell the vegans out there to just like quit being so mean to me because I'm only going to do what my doctors tell me to. And for you to like say these things like, you're going to have another heart attack if you keep eating meat and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, you know what? Just worry about you and let me worry about me. It became so frustrating. So I was trying to figure it all out. I was, and I have since found that what I've had to do is live a very low fat diet that is way more balanced. I eat lean proteins. I have a lot of vegetables. I eat whole grains. I focus on all three of my macronutrients every single time I eat, and it's very balanced. And I think the main thing that really had to change with my diet was my fat intake. I drastically had to lower my fat intake.
Yeah.
And that's why, and when people come at me and say things like, I'm going to have another heart attack, and if I do this, if I'm not doing this, and it drives me crazy because I'm getting my blood work done now every 6 months. I know what my diet is doing for me, and so I just really have to shut out that white noise. And I really had to get up to a point too where I had to kind of separate myself from social media stuff
Yeah.
because it just a lot of it really wasn't beneficial.
Yeah. I mean, I could not believe, you get the news about you having a heart attack, and then the next thing you see is people having comments about,
Oh,
I mean, it was horrible. And I have loved you since 2004. And I was like, you guys need to lay off of Bob.
I
Like,
know.
seriously.
I know. I mean, I had people that I knew in my past that were like, saying, "Well, he brought it on himself," with
Oh,
the
jeez.
CrossFit and the diet. And I was just like, "You're insane." It's
Yeah.
like, it's just people trying to act like they know everything and they don't.
haters, while we're talking about haters, I love them. And I love your Instagram. So I want to talk about 2 Cups In. And then also, I love the post you had the other day about hot yoga. And apparently, people are down your neck about hot yoga.
Jesus, it's like,
What is everyone so mad about hot yoga?
I know people are just, here's what I think. Here's what I love about fitness people. We're all crazy. And I
Right?
say we're all crazy in the best possible way. And what I tell people is find something that you're passionate about, that you love to do, and that will keep you going. I don't care what it is. If you want to be doing is it called Zumba? I'm like,
Yeah.
if you want to take dance classes, if you want to do Pilates, I don't care what you're doing as long as you're being active. I've been doing CrossFit for a million years. I know what the CrossFit Kool-Aid is, because when you do CrossFit, you want to talk about CrossFit. It's like it's your favorite thing in the whole world, and I get that, and I love it. It's just when people come at me saying, "Why are you doing hot yoga?" Because I'm really into that right now, as well as still doing CrossFit. Uh, I just tell them, I tell people, just chill out.
And just work out. Just do
Just work
something
out.
that makes you happy.
Just do something that you feel good about. It's like it cracks me up. I'm like, people just need to all just relax.
I mean, has there actually been a specific exercise or sport in the history of the world, maybe besides football and CTE, concussions, and all that, that has caused death? I mean, aside from hang gliding, and well, maybe I just answered my own question, but I mean, things that are on the ground and you do with your feet. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Here's what I think. When you're doing any kind of physical activity, you are at risk. You're at risk of injury. You're at risk of having, any kind of altercation,
Right.
and I think that you choose your exercise, or you choose what you want to do wisely. Feel good about what it is you're doing. If you want to mix it up, mix it up. But I think that when people get so twisted about their workout is the only workout, I'm like, everyone needs to just take a breath and more focus on what you're eating and how much you're eating. That's the real thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, uh, People that are always pushing, do this workout and you're going to look like me. No, that's not how it works, actually. You've got to, if I'm going to look at you and you've got a body that I admire, first question, I'm not going to ask you what your workout is. First question I'm going to ask you is, what are you eating? What's your diet? That to me is the number one question. After that, then I'm going to want to know about what kind of physical activity you're doing.
Do you know that I actually had the courage to ask someone at the gym that very question, because I had admired her for a while, but she was always just on the elliptical, just round and round and round. And so
Hmm.
I went up to her and I asked her that question, and she goes, "Oh, I just eat junk food. It must be genetics."
No, I
And
mean,
I thought, okay, that's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I've lived in Los Angeles for many, many years, and it's the celebrities or those models, actors, uh, anybody in the entertainment business, the ones that are saying, and they have the beautiful, perfect body, that they're just eating junk food and they never work out.
They're lying.
They're lying. It's like, don't lie. Don't insult my intelligence.
I know. It's not like I'm just going to turn around and eat what you eat and look like you. I just need a little help here.
Right.
Give me some advice. So can we talk about The Biggest Loser at all?
Sure.
Okay. So, let's talk about it. What
Yeah.
did you learn from your years of being on TV? I mean, how was that experience?
I got to tell you, I did Biggest Loser for all 17 seasons, and I loved it. I mean, it was one of the hardest jobs I have ever done in my entire life. It was nonstop. The amount of energy that was required on a daily basis was not normal. And, but you know what I thought? I thought that it was controversial. It really challenged people, and it also inspired people at home more so than anyone else. And that's what I really liked. I like the fact that you take an extreme of a television show like that, put it on air, and the person that's at home that needs that kind of motivation, that sees somebody that they can relate to physically on TV, and you see them going through it, you think, you know what? Well, if they can do it, what's stopping me? So it's like, I like the bigger message of what we were trying to put out there in the world. I think that show was super groundbreaking, and I really enjoyed it.
What were some of the patterns that you saw season after season in the contestants?
I think one of the biggest patterns I saw was the poor quality of food choices. I mean, the amount of calories that were being consumed, and then really bigger than that was why they were consuming those calories, really getting to the heart of it. Because when you're dealing with someone that is morbidly obese, it is more times than not, it is not that they love pizza or ice cream. I mean, that food represents something way bigger than that. And what you've got to do is get to the heart of that issue. And that's what I thought was the most interesting, because it's just not, it's not just as simple as I like to eat this kind of food and it got me here, because it's just so much more than that.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a particular contestant or story that still just kind of gives you chills when you think about where they came, where they started, and where they ended up?
Yeah, well, I guess my number one is a girl named Olivia Ward. She was season 11 winner on Biggest Loser, and that girl, she has changed her life. She and I are really good friends to this day. After she won the show, I got her connected with SoulCycle, and they gave her a job being a SoulCycle instructor. And she has been working with that business for, I don't even know how long. I think that it's been close to 8. I want to say 5 to 10 years, somewhere in that range, a very, very long time. She is now one of their quote unquote senior instructors. She's opening the Atlanta place. She's really changed her life. And that to me is just, it's so inspiring. She is so inspiring.
That's awesome. So is there anything that you would do differently, knowing what you know now about nutrition and health, and if you had to do it all over again? Or
if I had to do it all over again, no, because I think that what we did on that show was it was crazy, it was fun, it was challenging, because anybody that works in the fitness industry knows that when you're working with someone, it is day in and day out. And if we had a shooting schedule of, say we worked on camera 3 or 4 days a week, we'd still have to be there 7 days a week, because you'd still need to be working them out and teaching them and coaching them and motivating them. And it was relentless. I remember after the first season of the show, I lost so much weight. I was a shell of a person. I had not slept in months. It was just so much work, but it was just a lot of fun.
You've been giving of yourself emotionally for decades.
Yeah.
You just give and give and give, and people take and take and take and complain. And obviously you make a difference, and the rewards are greater than the trouble, or you wouldn't keep doing it. But what do you do besides kind of working out and taking care of yourself to deal with that take that is constantly happening to you?
Well, that's actually a really good question. I have been working in the business for a very long time, and you have to realize when you're in a job like that, people are going to just take from you. it's like they don't realize it, but they're just taking. And for a while, and it took a lot of therapy too, to be able to like find a way to balance that out and make sure that you still know who you are. You've got the core of your self-worth with you at all times, and to really be able to guard that and protect it and nurture that. And that's what I would do. And I remember before, it was always, and my friends always make comments about me when they know that I'm really going through something. It's like, oh, you're buying a new pair of shoes again. You're what's going on? And I'm like, you know what? I know sometimes you got to like find those outlets, but I think that it took me a while to really find that balance of making sure that I'm not completely drained of of all of what makes me who I am. And and it's like I do things to take care of myself. And like that's why if I have back in the day when I would have to get up at like 5, 4 o'clock in the morning, I would make sure that like I would get my workout in. I would do the things that I needed to do that made me feel better. And that was always how I kind of kept my sanity and continue to.
Well, what do you think about the statement, don't take it personally? Because I have a hard time with that statement. I know that the way people act, you can't technically take it personally, but
well, it's crazy, but like, yeah, my business is very personal. Yeah. So it's like, don't take it personal. And I'm like, well, that's impossible for me because I'm not a robot. It's like, I've always been very passionate about what I do, and everything about what I do is personal. And I wish that I could turn it off when I need to turn it off, but I can't. And I remember there was one season on the show where they got me in an interview, and we actually had this conversation. It's like, I wish, and as I'm crying in interview because I was so emotional that day, I was like, I wish that I couldn't take this personal, but it is personal for me. It's just
right.
And of course the producers loved it because I was giving them good TV.
I think I remember that one though, because wasn't one of the contestants like shitting on you, and you were just doing everything you could? And I was like, well, yes, I remember that episode. Yes. So, after your 16-hour days, you're just like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. I mean, and of course producers love that. They want you to get worked into the ground, because when your defenses are all down, well, all bets are off.
Right. So what are the top 5 or 4 excuses that we as humans who want to get fitter, lose weight, change our lives, what are the things you hear all the time?
Well, I think that some of the main ones I always hear is like, well, I just don't have the time. I don't have the time is such bullshit to me. Yeah. I don't know if I can say that.
You can say that. Okay. You're fine. You can say whatever you want, Bob. Don't take it personally.
Okay. I think that's such bullshit. I don't have the time. Also, I don't have the money because I can't afford I can't afford a personal trainer. I can't afford, whatever it is. It's like, that is a big excuse for me. That drives me crazy, because at the end of the day, if you really if you really on a strict budget, I mean, there are plenty of online type things that could be done, or you could just like put on your sneakers and go for a walk. Never underestimate the power of a good power walk. I mean, if in fact that's all you can do. So I don't like hearing that excuse. And I one that I hear too a lot, and I guess this is more of like an LA or a New York thing, of like, I wish that I could have a chef. I'm like, well, I wish I could have a chef too. I mean, it's like people have to learn how to budget themselves so they can have proper nutrition in their house. So I think that's another one. It's just like, I can't afford to eat healthy. I'm like,
you can't afford not to.
Exactly. At this point, you can't afford not to. It's like, you're going to either pay now at the grocery store, or you're going to pay later with healthcare costs.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about sugar?
I think sugar's the devil. I think sugar is one of the worst things in the diet today. And because I don't really believe in eliminating a food group. I don't like that kind of extreme. When it comes to sugar, I really want you to avoid it at all costs. And and to me, it just since I've been off, not I'm not technically off sugar, but I rarely eat sugar. And when I do, I feel it and I feel like crap. And people are like, well, I don't have that reaction. I'm like, yeah, but if you're eating it consistently, your body has built up a tolerance.
And you don't
And
know you feel like crap.
you don't exactly, and you don't know you feel like crap. It's like, and that's what I really loved about what Dallas and Melissa did with Whole 30.
Hmm.
I like the fact that the biggest takeaway from Whole 30 for me was take out all these things, and then as you incorporate it back, see what kind of reaction you have because you don't know the reactions of different types of food until you take them out and then for an extended period of time and then incorporate them back in.
And you know what was interesting when I did Whole 30? I took out all the crap and I was still having like this reaction around my mouth. And I was like, gosh, what is, and I used to think it was, the bread or the sugar or whatever. And I learned through Whole 30 that it was actually eggs, which eggs were, allowed. But
Oh,
because I narrowed it down to things that were even permissible, I found an intolerance that I had that I
wow, that's
probably
cool.
wouldn't have narrowed down.
Right.
I just
And
was eating
I
boiled eggs like they were going out of style.
right. I really liked when you are able to change your taste buds. Uh,
Hmm.
and I remember all of a sudden, if I, after a couple of weeks of being off sugar, I was just like eating almonds one day and went, wow, I can really taste the sweetness
Yeah.
in these almonds. I'm like, before I wouldn't have tasted any kind of sweetness in an almond or, whatever the case may be. It just really enhanced your taste buds. And I really liked it.
Yeah. I felt that way about strawberries. I've always been
Oh,
like take or
yes.
leave them, but yeah.
Yes. Like fruit took on a whole new meaning. It's like all of a sudden having strawberries or blueberries. And I was just thinking, well, this is the best thing I've ever eaten in my entire life.
Yes. All right. So let's talk about meditation.
Hmm.
Yes or no?
Oh, big time, yes. Like
Okay.
I've been doing transcendental meditation for a long time now, and I I'm so aware of my mood and my mindset when I don't do it, and it, it makes me feel so much better. And it's like I have to constantly be reminded of it because sometimes if I get off track with my meditation, I think, oh my God, why am I doing that? And of course, I start to psychoanalyze myself, thinking, what am I trying to withhold happiness from me?
Right. So what's the difference between like what is transcendental meditation?
Well, transcendental meditation really works for me because it is very much a type of meditation where you're not you're not making your mind do anything. You can whatever it is that you're thinking about, you can kind of go through that as long as you try to kind of go back to whatever it is your mantra is, and you do it twice a day, and it's about sitting there and just kind of like being quiet and just like letting your brain go where it wants to because my brain can be very active. I'm thinking about things, and meditation didn't used to work for me that much because I would always be told, push out all your thoughts and focus on your breathing. I'm like, I'm not connect. I don't do that.
Hmm.
And with TM, it just, I don't know, it just kind of allowed my brain to just do what it does. And in the course of that, my brain started to kind of balance out.
So that's my last holdout is meditation.
Oh my God.
I stubbornly refuse.
Oh, please, I can tell you this. I can tell you this with all of my heart and my soul. Once you kind of give up that stubbornness, whatever's holding you back from it, you're going to get so much more. Like I really try to do all the things that give you a complete life
Yeah.
of wellness. And and I find that meditation, sleep, nutrition, activity, stress, you're able to put all the pieces together, because that's what I think so many people are missing, if they don't have all those puzzle pieces.
I mean,
Does that,
I've recorded probably 100 episodes now, and I would say 90 people have said that changed their life. And yet here I sit,
Mhm.
stubborn, like, no,
I
what is
wonder
wrong with
why.
me, Bob?
I'm just wondering, but
I'm
because
just a rebel because I'm
because
really am a rule follower, and this is the only way I can rebel.
that's hilarious. Because I would just say, oh, it sounds like you're self-sabotaging, and
Oh,
I
yes, that
and I
too.
I understand self-sabotage.
Do you? So let's talk about that. What in the hell is with self-sabotage? What is with that?
I don't know. I think that, like, when I think a lot of times when people go into self-sabotage, maybe it's uh, not feeling like they're worthy of it all. I think that
Mm.
maybe it's that one thing, like you just said, you're a rule follower, so this is the one way that you could break a rule, because from all those 90 out of 100 interviews that we've all told you this, and you're still choosing to not do it. So it's like, what's the definition of insanity?
Right. Right. But it's so tied into the fact that I have this story, right? So my story is I was a fat little kid. I was a fat teenager, even though I wasn't fat. And I'm a fat adult, and I'll always be fat, even though I'm not fat, but that's like the story I tell myself. And somehow I feel like if I meditate, maybe that's going to change this story, which would change my life and be great. But I'm the queen of self sabotage.
Ugh. Well, you know what? I really hope that when you do it, which I really do believe you will, because you seem very self-aware, when you finally just decide, you know what, I'm gonna tackle this. It's like, uh, I think that it's gonna be. I can't wait to be able to talk to you again, and we're gonna have to do another one of these
Right.
interviews after you started doing it, because I'd love to hear, because I know you're only gonna feel great from it.
Okay. Maybe. We
Uh,
will try.
And I'll tell you, because I'm going to be talking about this on my 2 cups in today. But one other thing that I've been doing lately to kind of challenge myself, because I like to challenge myself. I go into hot yoga classes because it's super challenging. It makes you, it puts a mirror, literally and figuratively, right in front of yourself. And I like that kind of stuff. I like to be challenged in all ways. And the past couple of months, I have been I've been going back, and I've been reading, like, the classics, old books that I had never read before because I was a terrible student, and or because I didn't go to college. And it's been so great to exercise my brain in this way, because always being in the physical, you kind of stay in this one lane. But when you really challenge yourself intellectually or educationally, it just brings on a whole new level to your wellness. And I've just been really excited about it.
So I was an English major,
Ah,
and
no,
if you want a challenge, have you tackled William Faulkner yet?
I have not tackled William Faulkner, but
Okay, you've got to get The Sound and the Fury, but you have
this
to get a companion guide to probably read it because it's that kind of ridiculous book.
That's hilarious, because I was actually talking about The Sound and the Fury today, and one of my friends who I really respect, with her reading, she looked at me and she was like, "Don't read that book." Um, she was she says, "Do not," and I just kind of laugh. But I'll tell you who I've been so inspired by is John Steinbeck. and those Bronte sisters. Oh my God. I think Jane Eyre is one of the best books I've ever read in
I
my entire.
agree with you. Oh my gosh, and Wuthering Heights. Yes,
Yes,
they're
I
great.
I loved Wuthering Heights, and I mean, I just like so that's what I've been doing, and I have been focused. I love it. Like right now, I'm reading The Grapes of Wrath, I love it.
It's like the classics, you just, every word seems to have so much more meaning.
Oh, their take on the English language makes me feel like I am illiterate. I
True. Yeah.
I'm so impressed. Like Emily and Charlotte Bronte, the way that they were able to write, I just thought, oh my goodness, I just wish that I could do this. It's a talent. Like your 9-year-old daughter at the CrossFit Games, being in awe is where I am with John Steinbeck right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So after that, you need John Updike. And you do need to do William Faulkner no matter what your friend says, because only when you're done with it will you feel like you've achieved like another level of humankind.
Okay. All
Because
right.
it's so hard, and like Faulkner writes in Stream of Consciousness. So
Right.
it's just this rambling and you're thinking, but every
Yeah.
word is chosen so well. And so it's like this big, juxtaposition of just insanity plus like well-planned words. And
But
I mean, it's great.
that's interesting. It's interesting that you're saying this because I love what you're saying. One thing that I thought about with the books that I'm reading are I really almost believe that kids, and I say kids meaning like high school and junior high, reading these books could really be off-putting for them because maybe they're not old enough to experience it. I remember like trying to read maybe these books and not getting the full grasp of them
Yeah.
the way that I am now.
Yeah, you have to get the dirty undertones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we read I think it was called The Centaur or something, John Updike, but there's like all this sexual imagery, and luckily I had two incredible English teachers in high school, and they weren't afraid to tell us what it meant. And then, you're kind of terrified because you
Right.
hadn't even considered that being, an option. But at least I had the teachers that kind of explained it. But yeah, I can imagine reading it now. You're like, you can catch all that.
Yeah. Well, I am loving John Steinbeck. I mean,
Awesome.
wow. Love it.
Bob's Book Club
Yeah,
on 2
exactly.
cups in. That would have to be 3 cups in.
Yeah, Bob's Classics. Um,
That's right.
yeah.
Well, I have one more question for you.
Okay.
This podcast is called The Same 24 Hours, meaning that we all have the same 24 hours, but it's what we do in those hours that makes our best life, our best health, happiness, and success. So you've touched on meditation
Mhm.
and working out, but what is something else that you do on a daily basis that is just a must for your life?
I think, well, you have to realize that my dogs are my children, and I love my dogs very much. And the times that I spend on that walk with them every day is something that is really important for me. And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm doing something. Again, it goes back to I want to make sure I feel like I'm doing something for someone else, or uh, and that to me is part of it. And I do it every day, and I love it. And sometimes I'm just like I get annoyed by it, but I know that I'm going to feel good afterwards. I'm like, oh, do I really need to take you today? And it's like I feel really good about that. But also, what we talked about just now too is what I've been doing every day is taking that time to sit and read, even if I can only read for 30 to 45 minutes. It's going to be something that I do for myself that makes me feel really good.
I love it. Thank you, Bob, for taking this time. I know you're a giver, and I appreciate you giving me
Well,
a piece of your time today.
well, let me tell you, I really enjoyed it, and I really hope that the next time we speak, you will have told me that you tried doing some sort of meditation.
I just put a Post-it note on my computer. That's a big step.
Okay,
Haven't
check
done that before.
check out Transcendental Meditation. I think you might like it. You seem very very cerebral. Yeah, it's like you're a very smart person, and I think that would be something that you would respond to.
Well, I appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you, Bob. Take care.
great talking to you.